Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. So in today's video I will be doing TBR takedown round 4 or round 5. Last month I didn't do a TBR takedown because I was trying to catch up on my backlist TBR books that I had pulled. I didn't manage to get them all done, but before we talk about last month, let's talk about what TBR takedown is and really what is the point of it. So TBR takedown, the point of it is to get books off my to be read that I've had on there for 4 years now, 3 or 4 years, either from 2018 or 2017, because I'm very happy to say that I have got most of my 2017 books off. There's still a few, but I figure, you know, I can work on that, and also it's just something fun. And also because I've seen how much everyone else was enjoying their TBR games, I wanted to try and make mine, and of course, me being me, I made it overly complicated. There is rules in other videos, especially in the first one, where I talk about the rules of the game, but it's pretty simple, and I'll kind of explain what's going on as we get into the video. So I guess the first thing we should talk about is how last month went. I'm not going to make an entire wrap up because I just feel like they're not as interesting, or they're pretty messy. I might actually put one up for July since I didn't really film during July. With that being said, let's just get into the video and talk about what I do plan on reading and what I have finished that is sitting in this box. So on top, there is none because all the books that I had put in here as a placeholder, I guess, just so I know what I'm reading that month, and also all the to hold all the books that are drawn from the Layla Box. And luckily I finished all the ones that were in the container. So just like a quick rundown, I read The Umbrella Academy finally. I read a book set in a different country there, which is from my challenge jar. I read a lot of different fictional countries. I also did read some that were set in Mexico, some that were set in Europe, some I think there was one even in South Africa, South America. And yeah, so this challenge was covered more than once. I also read a book that was adapted and then watched the adaptation. That was actually a challenge for its Sci-Fi July, and I ended up rereading and rewatching The Hunger Games. What was another interesting one that was in here? Wayward Children. I didn't read that last month, but I did completely catch up with the series. Again, Queen of Air and Darkness. We got the Diabolic series. I finally finished this series, but you would have heard about that in my last video, which was my mid-year freakout tag. And I'll leave that in the cards and at the end of the video if you wish to go watch that. Then I read Monstrous, which was a lot more gory than I expected, and it really has its own system along with its own rule. It has its own complicated magic system plus this like sci-fi system on top of that, which sounds like it would be hard to read, but for me it was pretty easy. I also finished Lumberjanes, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and Saga. I finally read Saga Volume 9, which I'm going to have to make its own video about because of the Saga series at some point, because I don't know how I'm going to wait for the next book, let alone how everyone is patiently waiting for book 10, considering it's been since 2018, so it's been like 3 years now. Move on to the things that came out of the Layla Box. If you don't know what the Layla Box is, it's something that I painted, and my cousin Layla draws books out of it every month. Now this month I let her draw 6 books, which seems like a lot, But I've noticed that I've started reading anywhere between 10 to 15 books every month, which I don't know how, considering I still manage to work on schoolwork and do a lot of other real life things, which makes me really excited. But yeah, and then there's also some that I picked out for myself because we were sorting through the book box, just in general. So one of the first ones she pulled out was The Walking Dead, which I'm really excited about because I have the next 2 books left on my Hoopla, and I don't think at this point I need to explain what that is, along with the next one, which is Percy Jackson and the Olympians. This is kind of a 2-book scenario. I could take this any way I wanted. Percy Jackson and the Olympians, I really want to try the graphic novels again, even though I didn't like the art style, and also my Demigod hangout, which is my Discord, is also doing a Percy Jackson reread, so I would kind of like to jump in on that. Next we have Harry Potter and the History of Magic. I don't think it needs to be said, but just to reiterate, I understand the drama with J.K. Rowling, and I don't promote her whatsoever. So you will hear me refer to her or just not mention her name at all in Harry Potter. Anyways, Harry Potter History of Magic isn't even by her, it's by Pottermore. It's just the history of magic, and I'm really interested in that. And then we have A Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. We originally drew out A Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy, which is a title I have trouble saying. But I haven't read the first book. The first book is set in Old England with the prince as he is tasked to go with his best friend on like a road trip around Europe, and they slowly figure out that they both have feelings for each other. Now this is Old England, so you know, LGBT relationships aren't allowed, and it's kind of the journey of him discovering himself and dealing with that scenario. At least that's what I've picked up on what this book is about. From there we have Magic School Bus. I know this seems kind of silly, but again, it's just all the books that I have liked on my Hoopla, and this was one of them. I never read the Magic School Bus books as a child, at least I don't remember reading them, so I thought it would be fun to at least read the first one and see what they're like compared to the movies. Now, I do actually have Harry Potter on my list and not just A History of Magic, simply because I've been in the middle of a reread since January or February, and I would just kind of like to finish those last 3 books. I think I have Half-Blood Prince, Order of the Phoenix, and Deathly Hallows left, and even though those are the longer books, I would love to just get this reread over with. We also have the Tea Dragon Festival, which I'm really excited about. Sequel to the Tea Dragon Society, which is about tea dragons, the history of tea dragons, how they make the tea from the dragons, and all of that. We also have Delirium, which is one of those backlist titles that I have no idea what it's about, but it's on my TBR. Also have Disney Frozen. Just another one I threw in here. I was curious what there could possibly be a book on Frozen about. So another fun short book I threw in here. We also have Nimona. I don't know, but we have Nimona. I think that's how you pronounce it. I could be very wrong. And judging by the cover, there's some like we're gonna be on an adventure, which really excites me. 1984 is a classic that I've been needing to read for a long time, so I'm excited about that. Makers Mysteries, which is actually Makers Mysteries in the behind the scenes of Crimes of Grindelwald or something like that. And again, it's just the background behind the movie of Crimes of Grindelwald, which is actually one of I actually, unpopularly, enjoyed that movie quite a bit, and I just thought it would be fun to read the behind the scenes book. Kind of like I did for the Hunger Games, except I own this copy and I will be listening to the makers of Mystery Magic on audio, which will be a different experience. Not a whole bunch of books. We have but like 4 more, I think, left in my Overdrive jar, which makes me excited because that means I'm starting to catch up and be a little less behind on my Overdrive history, which is what this is. This is a jar of every book that I've borrowed, maybe minus a few because I don't think I've updated it in a while, but every book that I've borrowed on Overdrive and didn't actually complete. It's just a way to keep on top of my TBR and make sure that books aren't getting forgotten / I'm actually reading what I'm borrowing instead of making other people wait. So the next, we're doing a reread, I guess. The book that I pulled out was Children of Blood and Bone. I actually have read this book. Like I said, it is a reread. But the problem is that I read the sequel a couple years ago and didn't reread the first book, which I wish I hadn't. So the plan is to reread Children of Blood and Bone and then reread the sequel. I'd hope that the book makes more sense because I feel like the sequel, Children of Vice and Virtue, would have made more sense had I read this, the first book again, and I would like to give it a better chance. From there, we only have one more jar, one more choice to pick, and then we're going to talk about the physical books I have. Yeah, I'm being pretty ambitious this month, but we're also going for 30 days and 30 reads again. So, in here I have a bunch of challenges. Quite a few of them are themed. There is definitely doubles in here. This is just challenges off my Storygraph, which is a completely different book tracker thing, where you have challenges where you can participate with people around the world. There is a couple of my challenges. There's some Marvel themed, there's some Disney themed. There's just a lot going on in here, and it also gives me something to look forward to every month. So with that being said, let's grab. Okay. Maybe. Okay, this one's perfect considering I have 2 books that I need to read that are definitely this length, and that is Hulk. Read a book over 500 pages. I have both Outlander, which we all know. If you don't know and you're new to my channel, I have said for like 4 different tome topples that I was going to read this book. I have owned the book and I still haven't read it. So I have it on my Overdrive. It needs to be picked up. It is a monster of an audiobook. It's like 30 hours long and 800 pages depending on which edition you have. I also have A Dance with Dragons, which is the most recent Game of Thrones book, and that I need to read, which is also like about 34 hours long and 600 pages plus, I think. So that's really exciting. And then from there we have just a few, and by a few I mean like 4 physical books that I want to read over this next month or work on. Starting with the first one, technically this is not a reading book, it is a devotional journal, but on Goodreads it is counted. I did find this on Goodreads, and I feel like, considering you still have to read what you're answering, so like you gotta read this, answer a question, read this little bit, answer a question. And I would just love to maybe not complete this in August because it is a journal, but just write in it as much as possible, as much as I want to, and really get into this in August. From there, we have a book that I'm not too sure on. I know it is a Christian book. I know it is got a lot of good Bible verses in it from what I've been told. With anxiety, but it's also by a famous singer-songwriter, so I think there's a little bit about her life in here. And that is The Transparent Life, 30 Ways to Live Better by Naomi Judd. I threw this one in here because it's super short, but also because I have a lot of long books that I'm going to be reading this month, and I just thought this would be perfect to throw in here. And I'm also excited to see what one of my favorite singer-songwriters has to say as far as her connection to Jesus, Christianity, maybe learn a little bit more about her and all that kind of stuff. Then we have another Christian book, and this is definitely about anxiety. I did start this book last year. I never finished it, so in the month of August I would love to restart it. And this is Anxious for Nothing, Finding Calm in a Chaotic World. It's exactly what it says. It's about Christianity, Bible verses, anxiety, all that kind of stuff. And I'm just excited to see how much this one will, if I learn anything from this book, but also these two, since they're both about anxiety, and my anxiety can be pretty bad sometimes. And the next one is pretty exciting because it's a popular book, and it's also on my TBR, and that is Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas. So I am currently reading Throne of Glass. I am almost finished with it. I haven't reached the end yet. And with how it's going, I know there's going to be a pretty heavy cliffhanger, and so I'm really excited that I still have this one left. Being said, that is all of the books that I want to read in March. We have a lot going on. We have like 10 books in here, we have 4 books here. There's just a lot happening. Will I read all of them? Maybe not, because there tends to be a few books that get lost in the water, but I'm hoping that this month will be a little better about that. With that being said, I hope you all enjoyed today's video. If you want to see my most recent videos, they're right here. I'm definitely a little tired in a couple of them, so I hope you can ignore that. If you want to subscribe to my channel, it's right here. And with that being said, I will see you all in the next one. I hope you have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!